Imagine traveling for 3 whole months with just one carry-on bag. Now, imagine packing it with only one type of fabric, merino wool. Sounds crazy, right? But it worked. And not just worked, it changed how I think about travel. Here's a shocking fact. Merino wool can absorb up to 30% of its weight in moisture without feeling wet. That's 10 times more than cotton. And while other fabrics start to stink after a few days of wear, merino wool stays fresh for days, even after sweating in 90 degrees Fahrenheit heat. In this video, I'm going to take you through my 3-month journey using only merino wool for every single outfit, from freezing mountains to sweaty tropical beaches. I'll show you how it stood up to extreme temperatures, long travel days, and kept me comfortable without needing to do laundry every week. Curious to know if merino wool really lives up to the hype? Stick around, because I'm about to reveal the surprising truth. Chapter 1. The Merino Wool Challenge. Packing light, traveling smart. When it comes to packing for a long trip, most people struggle with what to bring. You don't want to overpack, but you need to be prepared for any situation. That's when I decided to try something different, packing with only one material, merino wool. I'd heard the buzz about it, but I was skeptical. Could this wool really keep me comfortable in both hot and cold climates? Would it be durable enough for a 3-month journey? Merino wool is a game changer for travelers. Unlike regular wool, it's lightweight and breathable, perfect for a minimalist approach. The best part? It doesn't smell, even after days of use. This is because merino wool is naturally antimicrobial. It resists bacteria that cause body odor. I was amazed to learn that you can wear a merino wool shirt for days, even in warm weather, and still feel fresh. The idea was simple. I'd pack a few merino wool items and see if I could make it work with just a carry-on. I wasn't just packing for the warmth of a winter vacation. I was heading into a mix of climates, tropical heat, mountain chills, and everything in between. Could one fabric handle it all? A quick glance at Unbound Merino's website helped me make the decision. They tout that their clothes are made from the world's finest merino wool, which is soft, durable, and odor-resistant. It sounded promising, but would it live up to the hype in real-life travel conditions? The challenge was set. Chapter 2. 1 bag, 3 months. How merino wool outperforms everything else. Packing for a long trip is always a juggling act. I wanted to travel light, but I also didn't want to sacrifice comfort. So, I packed my carry-on with a few merino wool essentials: shirts, underwear, and socks. I wasn't sure how it would hold up, but I was ready for the test. The first advantage I noticed was how merino wool kept things light. A few shirts and a pair of pants were all I needed for multiple weeks of travel. Unlike traditional fabrics, merino wool packs down small and doesn't wrinkle easily. This made it easy to fit everything into my carry-on without sacrificing any of the items I would need for different activities. Merino wool's moisture-wicking ability was another revelation. I spent days hiking in humid climates, and even though I was sweating, my shirt stayed dry and comfortable. This is because merino wool can absorb up to 30% of its weight in moisture without feeling wet. Most synthetics can't keep up with that. Here's an interesting fact. Merino wool is 10 times more absorbent than cotton. For travelers, that means it keeps you dry longer. It also dries faster when it does get wet, which was super helpful when I had to wash clothes while on the road. A quick rinse in a sink, and I could hang it to dry overnight. The beauty of merino wool is its versatility. It's warm in the cold but breathable in hot weather. I tested this during a week in the mountains, where temperatures fluctuated between 35 degrees Fahrenheit and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. While others were layering up with heavy jackets, I wore a single merino wool sweater and was perfectly comfortable. It regulates your body temperature like no other fabric. Chapter 3. Smell-proof and sweat-free. The merino wool secret you need to know. You know that feeling when you've been traveling for days, and your clothes just stink? Well, with merino wool, that doesn't happen. One of the most surprising benefits I found during my 3-month trip was how odor-resistant merino wool is. Whether I was on a bus, at a local cafe, or hiking through a jungle, I never had to worry about being that person with the stinky shirt. Merino wool's natural antimicrobial properties mean it resists bacteria that cause odors. Unlike synthetic fabrics that trap moisture and bacteria, merino allows your skin to breathe. This is why it's been a go-to fabric for adventurers for years. Some studies even show that merino wool's odor resistance can last for up to 7 days of wear, which is incredible. Another thing that impressed me was how it handled sweat. We all sweat, but with merino wool, the sweat doesn't sit on your skin, causing discomfort. Instead, the wool pulls moisture away, keeping your skin dry. This is crucial when you're in hot and humid environments. It also helps that merino wool regulates temperature, so you're never too hot or too cold. Interestingly, a study by the University of Otago found that merino wool fabrics can absorb moisture 10 times more effectively than cotton. For me, this meant I could wear my clothes for days without feeling grimy. After a day of sightseeing in the heat, I'd toss my shirt into the laundry, but it didn't smell. Merino wool was handling the heat and the sweat like a pro. Let's not forget the convenience. When you're traveling light, you don't have the luxury of constantly washing clothes. Merino wool saved me from having to do laundry every couple of days. Instead of smelling bad, I felt fresh, no matter how many days I'd worn my shirt. This one feature alone made merino wool a game changer for me. As a bonus, I found that merino wool is also naturally UV resistant. During long days of exploring, I didn't have to worry much about sunburn on my arms or neck. It helped block harmful rays and kept me safe, which is a benefit you don't get from many other fabrics. If you're enjoying the journey so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the next chapter, where we dive deeper into merino wool's incredible versatility. Chapter 4. Surviving Extreme Temps, Merino Wool's Climate Mastery. One of the most surprising things I learned during my 3-month trip was how well merino wool handles extreme temperatures. At first, I couldn't believe that a single fabric could work in both freezing cold and sweltering heat. But after putting it to the test, I was convinced that merino wool was a true climate chameleon. I started my trip in the mountains, where temperatures dropped below freezing at night. Traditional fabrics like cotton or synthetic materials just wouldn't cut it in those conditions. But my merino wool sweater was like a warm hug, keeping me cozy without feeling bulky or heavy. Unlike many synthetic options, merino wool insulates even when wet, which became a game changer during unpredictable weather. A fun fact about merino wool is that it can keep you warm even if it's wet. While cotton gets soggy and uncomfortable, merino wool retains its insulating properties, making it perfect for snowy or rainy climates. I experienced this firsthand while hiking through some chilly mountain passes in Switzerland. Despite the rain, my merino wool layers kept me dry and warm, unlike the hikers around me who were shivering in their synthetic jackets. As my journey took me to tropical regions, I was equally impressed by how merino wool kept me cool. Merino wool is naturally breathable, which means it allows air to circulate, even when it's hot outside. One morning, I was walking around in 90 degrees Fahrenheit heat and high humidity, and I barely broke a sweat. The fabric absorbed moisture from my skin, pulling it away into the fibers where it could evaporate, leaving me feeling dry. Merino wool is so effective in hot weather that it was historically used by ancient civilizations in places like Egypt and Mesopotamia. Studies have shown that merino wool has the ability to regulate body temperature by retaining heat in cold conditions and releasing it when you're hot. It's like having your own personal thermostat, making it one of the most versatile fabrics on the planet. Chapter 5. The Fashion Test, Wearing Merino Wool for 90 Days Without Looking Like a Hiker. When you hear about merino wool, you might think of rugged outdoor gear, but let me tell you, it's so much more than that. One of the biggest concerns I had before embarking on this 90-day experiment was whether I'd look like I had just come off a hiking trail, with no variety in my outfits. But I was pleasantly surprised by how stylish and adaptable merino wool can be. Merino wool is incredibly versatile and can be dressed up or down. The fabric's smooth texture and elegant drape made it perfect for everything from casual sightseeing to dinners at fancy restaurants. The key is in its sleek, refined look. I never felt like I was sacrificing style for comfort. Plus, merino wool resists wrinkles, which is great when you're constantly on the move. After a day of exploring, I'd simply roll up my clothes, and they'd look fresh the next day. What's even more impressive is how well merino wool keeps its shape over time. I wore my merino wool t-shirt for days on end, and it didn't stretch out or lose its fit. Unlike cotton, which tends to lose its shape after multiple washes, merino wool holds up well, no matter how many times you wear it. I also found that merino wool is naturally odor resistant, which made it easier to go longer between washes. This was a lifesaver when I was in places with limited laundry options, like remote villages in South America. Instead of worrying about finding a laundromat, I could just hang my shirt to air out, and it was good to go. You can go for days, even weeks, wearing the same merino wool clothing without worrying about unpleasant smells. Merino wool is a must-have for minimalist travelers who want to look good while packing light. You don't need a huge wardrobe to feel stylish. A few key pieces of merino wool will keep you comfortable, looking sharp, and smelling fresh, no matter where you go. Chapter 6. Final verdict: worth the hype or just woolly fiction? After 3 months of traveling with only merino wool, I can confidently say that it was worth every penny. This experiment wasn't just about packing light. It was about testing whether merino wool could stand up to the challenge of long-term travel, through diverse climates, situations, and activities. Spoiler: it passed with flying colors. Merino wool proved to be the perfect fabric for anyone traveling light. Its temperature-regulating properties, moisture-wicking abilities, and odor resistance made it the ideal choice for minimalist travelers. Unlike cotton or synthetic fabrics, merino wool offers unparalleled versatility. It kept me warm in the cold, cool in the heat, and fresh through days of wear. But the true test for me wasn't just how well it performed in extreme climates, it was how well it handled the day-to-day grind of travel. How many times did I have to wash my clothes? How many times did I need to replace a worn-out item? The answer: barely at all. Merino wool is naturally durable. It resists pilling and stays intact through hundreds of washes. Another fact worth noting is that merino wool is more sustainable than many synthetic fabrics. It's biodegradable and can be produced with less environmental impact. According to a 2020 study by the Textile Research Journal, wool has a much lower carbon footprint compared to polyester, which makes it a great choice for eco-conscious travelers. What surprised me the most was how comfortable merino wool made me feel. It's like it was tailor-made for my lifestyle. I never felt too hot, too cold, or too uncomfortable. It was breathable, soft, and quick to dry. I was able to pack less, travel smarter, and never feel like I was sacrificing comfort. So, was it worth the hype? Absolutely. If you're looking for a fabric that can handle everything from jungle heat to mountain chills, while keeping you fresh, comfortable, and stylish, merino wool is a game changer. I'll be using it for my future travels, and I highly recommend it to anyone looking for a minimalist, practical, and sustainable travel solution. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on my latest travel tips and experiments.